Oh my, where did it go? That is a Problerino. Uh, hmm, wait. Where the heck did the chat go? Did I close it? Oh my god. Yep, I 100% did. What? Hello, Strutsky. Hold on. Give me a minuto. What the heck? There we go. I see it now. Got me worried for a moment. And voila. So, wow, that's huge. Wait. I said so, but I'm not yet done. Wait. Patience, friends. Okay, this should be okay. Oh, so what happened to my rear tracker? Hello? Waste. Comply. Hello, everyone. Happy New Year. I mean, by now it should be New Year where you are, right? Just come on, waste tracker. Of all times for it to screw up, guess I'm gonna look like this for a while. Anywho, Strutsky, Cinder, Stars Wolf, and who is this? Maximus. For some really odd reason, my waste tracker wants to think that it is currently really far away, so let me walk around to see if I can correct that. There we go. Little hiccups. Teeny, tiny little hiccups. Hello, Zix. My mic is echoing. Okay. Almost touching it will almost do. There's a part of me that's always true. Always. There. How about now? Should be good. So problematic. All these funny things just keep on happening. I'm gonna walk again. Now, where were we? Again, we have Strutsky, we have Cinder, we have Lime, we have Fluffy. Hello, Happy New Year. Happy New Year, Gab. It's my first stream. Happy to be here. I'm trying to enjoy some Elden, not Elden, it's now Elden Ring while I enjoy it. Enjoy. Don't die so much. Currently knowing your ears. I'll make it slide just this once. Hello, Vesper. She got called out for chores, so unfortunately she, yes, is not present. I'm new here. What do you usually do in your streams? I chat. That's it. A conversational content creator. I try to make things as personal and interactive as I can, without any of the funny pops, bangs, and whistles that the other streamers do. I keep things minimalist. Happy New Year, Termitrace. He just yips. I talk. Happy New Year, my lizard, maybe dragon friend. You know, there was somebody who, well, they suggested that I was a kobold of all things. I don't think I have kobold brain, or am I like small, right? You too, pillow. Happy New Year, Fluff.
Happy
And
New Year.
so the cycle begins anew. Here I am thinking you were but limited to a diet of bread and water. I hope fortune has started to come your way again. Wouldn't want a friend to be running dry with his well. Thank you, Fluffy. You know, at this point, I'm completely fine with just reaching the monthly goals, surviving, saving a little bit more for rent for the next month. The, I thought about like the little fun thing I did during December for the bike. It honestly made me feel really guilty. Yeah. But yes, thank you. Enormous help. You see, whenever you support your streamer, it gives them not only food on the table, it's also a very big motivational push for those that uses this as a form of, living. Jangmyeon. Jangmyeon, what an interesting name. It's not food. You're not kobold energy at all, says Cinder. Right? I don't know. People says I'm a kobold. The kobolds I know are small diminutive creatures, right? Ooh, shiny! Right, they're like that. They're very small minions. The kobolds I see in VR chat, though, they're of a different breed. Just add ing, and that's what they are. You're like a dragon lizard Sergal. Please, I'm anything but a Sergal. I don't have the weird thumbs, feet on that the Sergal has. And they have a much sharper facial profile. I dirt biked with my friends last year. You are a champion to have such wonderful friends and two wheels. I too yearn to have that one day. A bread and water diet, asks Stratsky. Beat by bread, olive, and wine. Okay, there's the poor diet, and then there's the posh. Poor but posh diet. That's the bread, olive oil, a bit of balsamic vinegar, rosemary, right? And then you like dip the bread there. Now, preferably over the sides of some sea or ocean by the balcony. Happy New Year 2016. I wish we could go back to 2016. But then again, we wouldn't have the tech that we have now, won't we? I wouldn't be existing. You're too composed to be a kobold. Composed. Here I am with my knees up, sitting so uncouth like. And look at this. I'm by the billiard table. Let's see how my pins work. Right, that was supposed to be the Vesper Camp. Hi, Chan. Kobold, huh? Besides, I'm. As much as there are bad events that happened between 2016 My apologies, my mic was acting up.
Yippee.
Yeah, I'm trying to clip it back on. Come on, 3D print. There you go. Sorry about that. Oh, you didn't hear me after 2016. I said 2016, huh? As much as I want to change things, if given the chance, I wouldn't. You wouldn't be the individual you are if it weren't for the sequence of events that happened between that year and now. So, yeah, be proud of where you are, be it high or low. Lord Satan. Now, where were we? You're gonna unbalance that pool table. Thank goodness I'm relatively light. Speaking of dragons, most dragons I know are always like 300, 400 pounds in weight, despite being like 6'6", 6'7" in height. Such muscularly dense creatures. I'm what, only 170? Pretty average. No, I did not say that number. Shh. Lizard, maybe dragon, not kobold or Sir Galvan. That's an awful lot of words. Greetings, Scabbos. How are you doing today? Ask a curious holy fairy. I'm doing fine. I ate 5 pieces of cheap cookies prior to stream because hunger was starting to spike and I did not want to go prepare a full meal or else I'll be later than I already am. Aside from that, I'm doing great. Well, nothing exciting to share really. My new year was more lackluster than anything. I'm kind of sad because the fireworks only seems to be half as much as it was last year. Happy New Year, Fenar. Fenar, Fnar. Happy New Year, Alastar. Warm-blooded lizard. You just call me a gimp, a reptile. It's a much broader umbrella. Surely I'm underneath it, right? Fluffy has subscribed for 6 months straight. Oh, I feel like we've been friends for years, Fluffy. Makes me wonder, why did my microphone run out of charge so quick? I may have to double check the charging contacts that it has. Perchance there's not enough, electricity going through. 2016 is years before I met Gib. No thanks. Don't worry, love. I'm here. Hot going anyway. Well, the only direction I'm going is forward or out. As we all should. So, now that the stream is all simmered and whatnot, let me go ask. Do you guys have some New Year's resolution, some New Year, New Me thing going on? Some promise that you're probably gonna work on for a month, maybe 2 tops. I'm talking about the workout. As for me, I'm allocating funds. Well, slowly allocating funds towards getting my new exercise equipment. Gosh, I've been such a gym rat before, and then I stopped. I stopped somewhere around after college, and oh boy, I feel so out of shape. I need to get back in prime form and condition. We start by having a treadmill, so I don't have to go outside, walk the streets while under the beating sun of the Philippines, under the mercy of equatorial heat of 40 degrees Celsius and above in maximal humidity. Mm. Working out is so worth it. 100%. I've never felt greater in my life when I was exercising. Now that I'm not as much because I don't go to the gym anymore, just do the home stuff, it, yeah, I'm not as happy, that's for sure. I feel slower, I feel more lazy. I don't feel upbeat when it comes to things. Before, I would always have a spring on my step. Yes, I'm from the Philippines, chat, before you even ask what country I'm from. I have California desert dry heat to deal with. You see, Finar, it's dry heat, not wet, sticky, icky, damp, humid heat. Though I heard people from Florida go through the same thing. Hmm. Vesper goes. Also, hi, Axel. Happy New Year. Vesper goes. One thing for sure that isn't going to be a new year, new me thing in school. I have to keep up with that code. Stratsky. Damn it. Join the Cinder Collie Running Club. Running Club? Do you have a treadmill setup where you do the VR thing? Lime goes for the New Year's resolution. I'm going to work on my social anxiety, stop caring so much about what other people think of me, and dive more into furry stuff IRL. Well, those all sound like good points to me, so good luck. The capture for this is so good. What VR do you use? The Meta Quest Pro. Nothing fancy. You work around its limitations, its weakness. New year old me, says Wask. Put more effort into the same ongoing challenges. Consistency is good. Also, we got a raid. We got a raid from Nick, dog. I hope that's two eyes between the N and the C. But hello. What are you up to on this fine New Year's Day? Also, hello, chat. Did you come from a good stream? I hope you were most entertained. Start that. What is your favorite dragon type? I like them hot and bodacious. And most definitely babes. That's girls for the uneducated. Now, where were we? Doesn't it mean it's 4 a.m. for you? It is 4:01 a.m., correct? We're always entertained here. I'm glad to have you around. Again, I am surprised an individual such as you is showing up. I remember you wording how you were averse to watching streamers. Why would I sit down and stare at my monitor towards somebody who's just yapping? Gives a bard through and through. Like, oh, whoa, 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 let's not fight. Maybe we can resolve this in a peaceful and less financial matter. Except, when it's necessary. You know what's weird? I never played the bard character in any of my pen and paper sessions, right? When I was playing Pathfinder, when I was playing Dungeons and Dragons. I've just gotten lucky finding you alive. Sure, lucky. Glad to have you all the same. Good night, Lucas. New Year's Day, huh? 2026. Wonder what is in store for us. Hmm. So much potential for good and or bad things. But the RAM crisis now is going to be another GPU crisis. And a storage crisis surely isn't a shining bright beacon of hope to all of us trying to assemble computers, isn't it? Absolutely terrible. Insane. What about draconic guys, Geb? Look, I like ladies, but I admire the male form when it is well built. Was that a satisfactory answer? Classic. Hello, Kazdrolf. Kazdrolf. What's a Drolf? A dragon wolf? So we have funny bushy tail. Lime goes, my best friend and I have finally opened to each other about our shared interest or furry, so now we're trying to make a persona for each of us. Oh, that's great. Nothing better than diving into an interest, a hobby, with somebody to tag along with. It's like starting an MMORPG. Hey, let's go play this game. Let's both be level 1, right? I'll be the priest, right? I'll be the healer, and then you be the DPS or something like that. Oh, it's the most exciting thing when you start an adventure together with a peer. My nails are sharp. They're groomed, at least. I'm just tuning in. I still like your avatar a lot. Oh, it means you've seen my previous forms, I assume. Geb Street. Straight to the point. I'm gonna crash your VR meetup so you can admire my male form, Moonfang. I look forward to seeing you then. Asus is taking over to help the shortage of CPU and RAM. Thank goodness. A head and legs, okay. Personas don't always stick with the first design either, says Vesper. It took me several designs and tries before I settled on how I am now. That is very much true, isn't it? Vesper had to go through several iterations of, well, you know, her present form. And so did I. I went to three, to be precise. I started as a Nova Beast. I then became this weird draconic Vulper, and then I am now the Hydra that you see. I'm probably gonna stick to this form forever. Unless there's something better. Hmm. The Asus thing was a rumor. They ain't making no RAM chips. I see. Kamusta po pandinig nyo? Nakakasagap ng full signal kahit sa probinsya. Full bars. Also, hello action. Now, where were we? Once you can no longer buy a new computer, all my horde of obsolete retro computers will be a goldmine, right? Maybe people will go back to the classics. Maybe arcades will be revived. With consumer electronics now being unreachable, gosh, I can see the retro making a resurgence. I wonder where it's gonna take me with Sonad? Sonas or avatars there. I don't know. The Aspel seems to be very fitting of you. Unless you find something more interesting. Maybe we branch off from there. How about we go develop the character you have now? The Aster was something square hole circle object sort of. Wait, no, the circle object will work, but it's still sharp on the edges. But you know what I mean. Gabos, I love you and everything, but you appeared on my FYP 3 times now. I yearn for freedom. ID, unfortunately, I have no control over this wild beast of an algorithm. So you have two choices. You can go block me so I never show up forever. Or you can follow so the algorithm will stop nagging you. Hmm? Your voice is so deep, please. I am anything but deep in voice. I know somebody else who purposely like banks on the deep voice. Like, oh, hello, Gabbers. I can't even do it. He sounds like a diesel engine that's been running for decades. I miss the second form you had, but I also like this one a lot, especially with the multiple ear thingies. Better for me to hear you with. It's redundancy, right? In case these two get shut off, I have extras and more. Shade of blue, huh? Electric blue. That's nice, isn't it? I'm not a big fan of blue. The dark blue. So muted. I already have a very muted second tone. This is grayish black, by the way, but the lighting always colors me a hue of bronze. Or dare I say, chocolate. Once you see it, you can't unsee it. Oh no, Geb is made of chocolate. Just look at this pigmentation. Happy New Year, Geb. We'll be lurking while I'm driving. So Bombars is driving, listening to me yap on his dash. In 500 meters, turn left, and then he goes the wrong direction, blames me, starts ranting about it on stream. Let's cancel Geb. He nearly crashed me in my car. We're eating the Gebos. Please don't. I may look like chocolate, but I am anything but cocoa. Tasting. Edible dark chocolate dragon. Isn't there that meme? It was a gorilla who was made of chocolate, and then he's gonna give you some advice or something important to say. But then he melts into like a pot of milk. House driving with talents. That's funny to imagine now that I think about it. You look amazing. Thanks, Hanzo.
Cinderquag.
Cinder has now been here for 2 months. I could have sworn I met you just the other week. You and Bombar. What? Impossible. It can't have been 2 months. Time flies, I suppose. Next thing you know, it's Christmas again. Driving and dragons, yep, D&D. Would not end well. How's your new year going? Asked Buster Noah. My new year is uneventful. Peacefully uneventful. The way I like it. Things are consistent the way I want it to be. So we are back to business. Me being here, clearly not because I have a deficiency in funding or anything. Why do streamers even stream? To make a living? Absurd. Now, where were we? Gemos would be a rice cake in that case. I don't know about chocolate. No, actually there is. Rice Krispies. That's the closest analog. You do it because you love us. Why are you here now, Axiom? Ah, yes, you could watch me on the phone. More convenient with this aspect ratio, isn't it? A rice cake. Yes, we have this thing called like Rice Krispies. It's popped rice coated in chocolate, and you eat it. Radio, please. I have yet to work on any form of broadcasting media of any sort. I have a feeling. I have a feeling, and this is very broadly being said, but there are going to be a lot of corrections going on this year. If anything, trends will change, voices will shift, the world will heal from whatever has been beating it the past year or so. At least I hope it is. Happy New Year. Don't worry, guys. The Gebos of Geb. The Gebos of Geb. The Gebos of Geb will be happy and no new historical events will happen. Um, sure. N3O. Is that how I call your name? N3O Freak says. Come to think of it, this whole stream would also work as a radio show as well. The voice, the background music. Urge my viewers actually to simply have me alt tabbed and listen instead. No real loss, I don't hold it against them. Many times people, they do chores, something productive like drawing. Heck, sometimes people even try to sleep with the stream on, and that frankly surprises me. I'm very flattered. Neo Freak, there we go, Neo Freak. N3O sounded cooler, like some robotic bounty hunter. Thank you, Zon. I think I'm the only Filipino in your life. Huwag ka mag-alala. Marami sa ating mga kababayan ang nanonood ngayon. It's like listening to an old radio story. Anything but the old-timey post-processing, huh? Tempted as I am, but I wish to keep my audio neutral, clear. You know what's weird? I have yet to watch Has Been Hotel, but I've been consuming a lot of a certain Hellhounds media. I think she looks cute. Hard not to. Are you AI? Why, good morning. How may I help you today? Happy New Year, Gamos. May all your dreams come true. If only I had the Infinity Gauntlet, right? Just one snap. Hi, Gab. Hello, Evident Night. Been a while. Luna, hell yes. Nah, where were we? Luna, I'm gonna pet her. Pet? I was just gonna say something about it's gonna be not the OS, it's okay. Totally just gonna invite her for tea, which I know she won't like. Void Dragon says, hello, I'm Russian. My time zone is UTC plus 7. So I'm going to bed. I've also knocked down my sleep mode a lot. I'm a sociophobe. Sorry about that. My mic was acting funny. So I may not write as... Sorry for the mistakes. I'm not very good at English. You saying hello is more than enough. I hope you find a good, good, good sort of sleep. Good time. Pet is a death risk, 100%. You're gonna get bitten from the stuff I've read. No, I've read. There, I've read. But I've heard mixed receptions about Haspin. And what's this other one? The Hell of a Boss. I know nothing about it except I like the art style. I might consider checking it out. Perchance. One time, bromance. Surprised to see you live. Well, here I am. Hello. Love Blink. I'm not a fan of Viv Zipavs. Again, as I've said, I know nothing about it. Aside from the art styles and the maybe 5-second clips. It reminds me of the old Cartoon Network days, except with a more adult vibe. Shh. All right, well, sometimes you like things, sometimes you don't. Perfectly fair. The same way I'm not a big fan of oranges and chocolate. It's okay, but when an auntie or passing uncle drops by, hey, Geb, I'm going back to America, and here is a box of chocolates. The assorted kind, the souvenir ones, all the funny shapes and combinations. And then there's the dreaded two variants I don't like. The orange chocolate and the coconut shavings chocolate. It's just the texture that throws me off. They have it in a certain corn-related balance. Have you watched any of the episodes, Vince? I'm curious now. Hard pass on coconut. Like, I like coconut on its own. I like coconut juice. I like coconut milk. I like coconut meat. But when you mix chocolate and coconut together, it tends to have a most disagreeable result. I see. Well, too bad that you're not liking coconut. It's a wonderful thing. It hydrates, it fills the hunger bar too. And the product could be used for so many furniture related objects. The first episode of season 1. It seems like we have something to watch then. A coconut nut is a giant nut. But if you eat too much, you're gonna be very fat. Coconut shavings. Mm-mm. The way you're describing that chocolate makes me glad I know nothing about it. It's like eating a nice, delicious oyster and then you find curly, thick hair in it. Well, Gebus and Vesper need to watch. I'll check it out. No, why not? Happy New Year, Geb. Happy New Year, Zizo. Your accent is cute. Thanks. I'm from the Philippines, if that helps. Though I don't think a lot of people talk the same way I do. Oh well, we're a very varied bunch after all. Oh, what's this? You know, to the point, I would rather have mint chocolate. Mint chocolate. Then have coconut chocolate. Have you considered doing ASMR videos? What? I would have that funny, weird microphone with ears on the left and the right, and then tap my claws on the table. I don't think I'm really fit for that sort of content. I don't know, a lot of people have been suggesting that. Why? What would I even do? ASMR centric chat. I really don't know much about it aside from the few channels I've glossed over while surfing Twitch. Hello, Libby. I'm doing okay. Wish, wish. Don't forget your vitamins. Right. Drink water, okay? You could get an ear model of animal ears instead of human ones. I'm gonna have like generic YCH furry head here, you know. And then there's like ears here, ears here. And it's like, No, you're gonna push me towards that sort of content category. You know, I don't do that kind of stuff. But Gab, you're gonna earn easy money if you do that, and you increase your numbers tenfold. Dang, Gab is right. I should get some sunlight and water. The sun rises in around an hour and a half from now. Add big booby, right? All I need is that. Again, it's all I need is that. You know, sway left and right. Show a little neck here and there. Yeah, I wish I had a cool profession like Cinder, right? I'm an EMT. I would have like so much EMT related stuff to talk about. Unfortunately, I'm not cool, chat. I don't have like an engineering degree. I'm not a doctor in which I can glean stories and information from. All I have is my street smart. Unfortunately, I'm not cool either. You're cooler. Sun, where? Says North. Haven't seen that big laser pointer for a month. Just snow. Oh, are you in the country which has like the 6 months worth of day and night? That would be so cool. I'm not very cool either. I'm just a dork of a lady, says Vesper. That's why we're trying to make Vesper cooler. We're gonna teach her how to dance. And most of all, learn Unity, Blender, and Substance Painter. Get that impressive skill. Pinargos, that's okay. My wife is respiratory. Much respect for EMT. I have respect for all professionals that put their heart into it. Really, I look up to guys that has discipline in a craft. What's this? Void Dragon. No, Veil Dragon says, I like the streams of people like you because something funny happens because of communication on such streams. So you're waiting for me to stumble upon my words, maybe have an innuendo or two. Unintentionally. Of course. North of Sweden gets less sun during winter. Less sun, huh? I see. By what factor, I wonder? Is it more of like 18-hour days or 18-hour nights. Esper says, I wish with my 2 left feet, haha. But learning that stuff is in the plans. I already told you about it while trying out a certain cat avatar. That. Which? Tastefully, artistically crafted witch. Happy late New Year's. Happy late New Year's, Raven. There are people out there who would pay you for your model skills. Oh, I didn't craft this from scratch. I mean, I have one. But this? No, it's TokyoZilla you have to thank. All I did was edits, really. It's like buying a Toyota, right? And then I'm the guy souping it up. I'm not the one who's fabricating it. From, from scratch. Geb used an innuendo he would never. Me, of course, I'm 100% wholesome all the time, right? The editing skills, though. I mean, what could I do? Oh, sure. Let's make your eyebrows waggle. Good night, pillow. Get some rest. Lay your head by your namesake. Oh, that's on my wall. Quick crack. Hello, Geb. Happy 2026. How was it? This beginning and expectations or goals. Health, good fortune, and money. I am very Chinese when it comes to goals. How old are you? Somewhere between 0 and 527. There's exponential numbers there, by the way. Good friends. That's part of the good fortune part. Good fortune with good company. The right kind of people. Connections. I am not the most social of people. So me growing connections is a slow process. Settle, the cougar says. I'm such a Toyota fanboy. I love my 2022 Tundra. You perked my pickup truck nerd. Pull my ears up. I see. That's 5 to 6 hours of daylight only. My goodness. Sounds like my kind of place to stay. More night. It takes years for some of us. Correct. As it should be. Unless you really are on the same wavelength as the person you're communicating with. I've made a few friends this year that I'm thankful to have met. I hope they continue to be the good people, for that is the impression they've left upon me. Do you have an interest in someone for the new year? In someone? I was contemplating on dropping by my brother's place and my mom's, but aside from that, nothing really. Almost touching it will almost do. 2015 Tundra. As long as it works, right? The sides, Toyotas, they last forever. The same reason why I chose a Honda for my bike. Well, at least the bike I'm gonna get. Geb looks bored. No, I am simply doing postures in which it is most comfortable to hold a conversation with. Can't I lean on my hands? Happy New Year, Dimarva. Hope the year turns out great for you. Who said anything about single? I have all the company I need. Get all of these people that I deem within a certain special circle around me. I still think that for this 2026, I might travel to another place to live. Money hasn't been on my side last year, so let's hope this 2026 gives us better things. I hope so too. Pro tip, if you're earning dollars and remotely at that, move to a country like mine where your purchasing power is times 5 at the minimum. You get like 2K a month? You're set. You have a nice posh life here. What country are you in? The Philippines, Southeast Asia. I nearly got a panic attack from a cucumber earlier yesterday, so just to put it out there. A, you know, I too perchance would be startled if I see a cucumber peeking out on the corner of a table or something in the dead of night while I'm trying to get water. But if it's in plain sight, Really, that's it? I make more than that and barely make it in the US, I feel. Go to YouTube. Look for this video, Living in the Philippines as a Foreigner. There's a reason a lot of people just quietly retire here. You can live off of like your pension or whatever money you get. I heard you guys get benefits, stipends, and whatnot. That's a hard name to read, Blue Fireball. Where'd you get your avatar? Gumroad. That's the place to be. Alex, with 4 months and going steady.
Smiley face
Thank you.
emoji, party face emoji.
Is that my text to speech working? It is, isn't it? The thought has crossed my mind. Oh, the amount of Americans over at Subic Bay, for example, or the Koreans at Baguio City, the Chinese here over at Metro Manila. It's nuts. So many people just stay here. You see, all you gotta do is overlook the heat, and then you're golden. My gosh, Alex not only subbed for 1 month, but gave out 5 more to other people. To be graced by support. Thank you so much. I saw Batty Salas. Hi there, Salas. How'd your game time with friends go? What's this? 4 or 1K. Wow. Kind of. They got rid of pensions. Now it's 401k. We have to pay most of it ourselves. So a forced piggy bank program. Okay. Hog is unfortunately from South America, if I can say it. So I'm not going to the US, but oh, okay. My goodness, look at that. Zizo, Mad Pause Bro, getting the freedom from ads. Are you smoking or is that just effects? No, chat. Take a nice close look. That is simply my minty fresh breath. Face. Smoking. Turns your mouth into an ashtray. Terrible for kissing. Schedule 1 was fun, replies Samus. Last night left me a raisin on the couch in recovery. You know, if you didn't say Schedule 1 was fun, and the only sentence was last night left me a raisin on the couch in recovery, I would very much envision a completely different scenario. I remember seeing those memes where it's a picture of somebody taking a selfie, and then behind is the guy like mummified, like. Why, if it isn't Ard, the glad scientist. Happy New Year, Ard. Glad to have you here. Oh wait, no, it's here now. Right. Pleasure to see. I've been seeing your gloating, your wonderful photos during your holiday week. Gosh, all those very exquisite looking foods and the other settings that you've been to, alongside with Beth in his travels. Color me envious. Geb, it's minus 35 degrees Celsius where I am in Canada now. It's fine. That sounds fantastic. So you go outside, you make your peace, and close your eyes. Let winter take you. What a way to go. Cinder goes 401k. A way for them to force our money into the stock market so they can siphon off even more of our wealth. Man. Hello, birds. That's a moderately funny joke, Blake, but it did not cross the threshold as to make me laugh. Where I got the avatar. What, you want to have a face like this as well? The place you gotta go is Gum Road. Yes, hello. I love it when TikTok. That's. I'm shutting up. I didn't say anything. There we go. I'm back. What's this? I'm glad you've enjoyed them, replies Ard. I still have a bunch more to sort once I get to it. We'll post the good ones. Yeah, great. I love seeing delicious food I don't have at the moment. Accurate on how I woke up, replies Patty, the dried up mummy. Letting winter thank you is actually pretty peaceful. You get really cold, really sore, and then really sleepy. You take a nap that lasts forever. Unlike when it's heat, you sweat and then you make a puddle on the ground out of your aforementioned sweat, and then you start to stink in a few hours. And you're donated back to Mother Nature sooner than later. I swear I'll share as soon as I can send food over the internet. Pinky promise. There's a way. There's a way. It's called exclamation point. Food. Actually, you know what? I need to make that an actual command. Actually, exclamation point food. But it leads to the same thing as exclamation point Dave. Tinder says, there's a saying in medicine. You're not dead until you're warm and dead. I've seen two resuscitations where the patient has an internal temperature in the 70 degrees Fahrenheit range, only for them to come back after we warm them up. It's like popping a frozen food in the microwave. Right? Becomes palatable again. Exclamation point, feed me. Or feed Gimp. Toss a coin. I'm gonna do all sorts of variations. Yes, this is VR chat. Chat. I'm no Stephen Hawking. I mean, a mishap, down some stairs will bring you closer. Okay, that's a bad joke. I would not wish any form of slipping and tumbling. This be like that. Greetings, killers. Glad to have made it to the meetup. Your voice sounds very familiar. Of course. Have you perchance tuned into this content creator named Campus? He speaks in such a, melodic tone with stretches and intonations that's uncommon. Perchance we are similar. Why do you want me to read that line in particular, Blake? And where is this from? Vespa Girls. I've also heard stories of people bringing kittens back from nearly frozen dead by warming up. Doesn't surprise me that the same logic can apply to humans. I've seen it. The cats just taking a nap in the snow. You lift them up, they're like solid. And then you kind of defrost them and then they're back to being kitties. Listen, war never ends. It's war. War never changes. You're pretty good.
Teleportation research funding.
Oh my goodness! The scientist actually did some science. See, if there's a will and a scientific theory behind it, there's a way. Thank you, Aaron. Gosh, what a fantastic start to 2026. My full, heartfelt gratitude to your continued support. AKA it's Art's leftover coins from his fancy, smanchy Christmas tree. You have a very pleasing speaking cadence. In what manner, Cindy? I am most curious. I have a friend who's American. I unfortunately do not have the capacity to understand, digest most of his words because he speaks at a pace that is just far too quick for me to understand. Ever heard of XQC talking? He sounds very similar to that guy. Happy New Year, Viserion. And Alzheimer Nadjarain. I hope I pronounced that right. Yoki Dragon says, amazing face tracking. Are you a dragon? Either way, amazing looking. Oh no, am I a dragon? I am a reptile. Hello. A lizard. People always call me a lizard. I don't have the horns. I don't have the wings. I'm not sleeping on top of a pile of gold. I'm mostly soft skinned aside from scales here and there. Yes, M. It is absolutely custom. Well, a customized version of a base. Hey, Kip, I'm curious. Have you considered using an old avatar of yours for a stream or two for the nostalgia? If you have them available still. Oh, I remember popping them out every now and then. For nostalgia. I know, Papis, the Vomper. The Nova in particular, because I believe that's the one that left the. Oops. That's the one that left the most impressions with people. I think the community concluded that Kebos is a lizard. Yes. Yes, me. You go to Gumroad, you get the Hydrogia, and then you do what I did. I edit, I kit bash, I toil in Blender and Unity. The only thing I can conclude is cats are literal liquids, says Music Hawk. They can enter small holes with a difficult. Absolutely. I agree, they're liquid in cat form. Haven't seen you in a year. I haven't seen you in a year. Ard replies, ha 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 ha. Listen, I'm just bumming off my brother. I'm taking advantage of sibling privilege to use his fancy plays. I see. That's not you bumming, that's you being smart. And frugal with the spending. Why rent a hotel, an Airbnb, where you can simply phone an accessible brother? Hey, bro. I miss you so much, and I really want to see you. And would it be okay if I stay at your place instead? Not because I want to save money or anything, but because I have yet to see my kin in so long. Yes. Happy New Year, Kakaroach and appending faces. Maligayang post-Pasko. Happy birthday. Happy New Year. Sorry, I forgot lizards are lizards are very much real. Hello. A little late to the stream. Admit it. It's almost also Happy New Year. Welcome, Carp. That maybe my persona should have been a cat. See, I swear you're really going for that witch cat, aren't you? Why not having some metallic robot wings? They could be a cheeky little reference. Who are you talking about? Livornia. Ethan. Black. Do you have a cat avatar? I don't. Sure, Vesper, sure. I remember somebody wanting to be a bat. Procure said bat, toils over it. Art goes, hey brother, remember when you used to kick the crap out of each other? Good times! And we can I visit? Maligayang bagong taon. Sana hindi kayo naputukan sa loob ngayong nung pagtapos ng 2025. Wait, that's wrong. What I mean is like the fireworks. Yes, most definitely the fireworks. Bat was built janky and wasn't worth working on anymore, so you suggested looking at another base. Yes. You? Who else is the one being called a dragon? Actually, being a lizard, it could be something funny. I don't want to have mechanical, clunky things on my back. Or do you think I look as burned as I currently am? Okay, because Vesper's not here, let's look. Chat. Me. Having all sorts of junk on the body. Forbid, I did not know. Perfect. Why is my turn speed ridiculously high? Better? Hello. I have a better idea. I want this for my Fortnite skin. Good luck. Oh yes, there. As close to perfect as I can tell. Perfect. I'm just content with who and what I have. I mean, holographic wings then. Or I could not have wings at all and have just. I don't want wings. They're clunky. They get in the way. They're huge. They don't frame well with the camera. I mean, look, okay, we're gonna. Imagine if I had wings, right? They'd just be like huge over here all the time. It occupies so much space. Angel of anything except that. Your Abby is already pretty iconic as it is. I go by the philosophy of simple is best. Okay, maybe not, but you know what I mean. I don't know. Some people are just have so much visual clutter on them, right? It's hard to get any form of visual recognition. When you design a character, you gotta make sure that the audience you're presenting to will be able to recognize you at a glance, have something iconic on you, something one of a kind. They should be able to tell it's you from a silhouette, either monotone or two-tone. One of the most effective things I have for the visuals is the tie. Some have so much fizzazzle under Avies, I don't know where to look. Shaders overdone here, so much effects there. What are you, a walking billboard? How is my new year, asked Neko. Peacefully uneventful. Just the way I like it. Feliz Año Nuevo. Año is years. Year. As pretty as effects are, says Vesper, it's nice to keep them subtle. That's true. Need the biggest fist bones anyone has ever seen. That is already handled by my secretary. Howler, have you seen the fist bones he has on 2 of his toes? It occupies the entire room by itself. Where did you learn Spanish? I do not know how to speak Espanol. The closest analog I can think of is I really like The Legend of Zorro back then. Funny hat, the eye mask, Angard. No, what did he say? It wasn't Angard. Was it? Are you Filipino by any chance? Yes, I am. Bro, you're kind. I try to be. I have no idea what you just said, Music Hog, unfortunately. Hey, Gib, I'm curious. Do you still have your Nova Beast? I kind of miss it. Yes, I do. It's still very much there. The framed ups you get when you see Howler's fist bones. Tell me about it. Gosh. He really needs to fix that thing. Oh, I need to sit down and call one time and then just run through things in his avatar. See his Unity project. I saw them glitch and shoot out through the wall of popcorn. Howler for you. I thought he fixed the fist, but I don't know. He has a bunch of things to fix. I remember him patching up that little bald spot he has on his tail, though. Hi, Gebas. I love when you stream. I get distracted every time because the movement of your... No, finish your sentence, gosh. Your what? My hopes and dreams. I didn't even notice you're Filipino. Maraming nagugulat pag nalalaman nila na Pinoy pala ako. Bakit? Hindi pa pwede mag-Ingles ang isang Pilipino. There's a cap for characters. Understood. Oh, sorry then. It was a Spanish text. Originally Spanish language. Learn how to speak English. 3 years studying for this. I see. I learned to speak English through practice and application. I was stubborn. In my family, I insisted. I don't want to speak Filipino. I want to learn English. My apologies for being utterly distracting then. It's been 1 hour and 17 minutes. It's that time to look at Discord and what's happening. My brother replied to my voice message. Happy New Year, love you too, and may this year be a good one for you. Wow, I didn't know my brother was into poetry. I need to call him one time. I sure hope you guys don't find it weird when you say I love you to your siblings. Let me see. I'll reply to that message later. Now, what's going on over here? Introducciones. Nova Pendragon. Ah, yes, there we go. This artist I was chatting with earlier. I really like the style of how they draw their subjects. Hold on. Yes, they joined only recently. Oh dear, oh my. Axel, who is alone in the drive-thru, he is wide open. Anyway, sorry about that. Where were we? Keeping up with the language study is hard, couldn't you? Yeah, I wish I knew how to speak Chinese, though. It's so sad. Hello, I'm still alive, says Litz. Hi, Litz. So you're gonna hang out with me after stream? I remember you mentioning it last time. Yes, there's space. Gotta ward off that funny death. I have to show you something in the old world that we visited in quiet breath. You sound like Apostle. You know him. Apostle? What? Like... Oh. I have no idea. My apologies. Via game, nag-vape ba ang dragon? Depende. Kung trip niya, oo. Right. The wholesome dark lizard and the slimy white. Are you talking about the kawaii wolfie? That's the only slimy lizard I can think of. A dragon, I can't tell. Where were you? But you tell me, am I? Gosh, do I qualify? Hmm. Happy New Year, Gibbons from Akimori. Well, Happy New Year to you too. And yes, I think you can join. Just cooking up some noodles real quick because I'm hungry and I need to make a grocery list. AKA, we will see Litza in 3 to 4 business days, weekends not included. Look, I wouldn't want to call myself a dragon. Please, I am anything but great and majestic and absolutely cumbersome in design. Heck yeah, the only problem is that I have some kind of friendly rivalry with her, and so I just prefer to pass time. Friendly rivalry? I think she's doing absolutely great as a streamer. You see, unlike me, she has other avenues of income. If you know what I mean. And she's got a lot of advantages built in. So I'm not surprised seeing her rather excellent numbers. Also, she can do things I can't. 100%. She does the... does a lot of fan service. Not necessarily NSFW, but the whole furry kind of fan service. The nuzzles, the boobs, the sounds. Yeah. Great job, Kawaii Wolfie. I do not have the the courage to do any of what you're doing. Welcome to Widescreen Land, Mr. Hollow. Or M. Hollow. You know what I mean. Just know, do the same. I cannot. Maybe if I... it crossed my mind a lot of times. That's it. It crossed my mind. Happy New Year. Dr. Sims. Do you have eye tracking? Yes, I do. Hello, there we go. Widescreen's a lot better. So instead of being constrained to this, you now have this. Very wide. How much should you spend for character customization like this? Money? Surprisingly not so much. Maybe $150? Time and effort? A lot. I mean, I had to buy the clothing and the other assets, the base. Put a maid dress and tail wag, then boom, extra $100 an hour. Should I color myself white and orange and give myself a mohawk at it? I think that slot's already occupied. What's this? Yeah, although I prefer being with you, you let me feel more free to present myself to others and give me more confidence in myself. I'm all about giving people self-awareness about having a spine. I am not that streamer who will coddle you and, spoil you. No, I am your bro that's gonna give you real talk. I'm gonna tell you you're doing crap if you're doing crap. I'm gonna tell you look absolutely horrendous with your design choices if you look like crap. And at the same time, I'm going to give you practical knowledge and know-how if you need some help in a particular something. Helping you to the best of my lazy ability. Thank you, hero. So how were the fireworks in the city last night? Absolutely lackluster. A lots of bangs and explosions, car alarms being set off. But unfortunately, it seems to be diminishing with each passing year. An absolutely stellar visual show, though, if you're on the rooftop, because the malls nearby me allocate so much resources to have like a 30-minute, 1-hour fireworks show each time. She, by the other hand, gives me creeps. Creeps? In what manner, pray tell? I'm curious. Would you rather wake up as your persona tomorrow or get $10K? What if I've already achieved the first thing and I'm regretting it? That's why I'm streaming to earn $10K. The eye tracking, bro, I can't look, it's so real. You, I know what you're doing behind this screen. Thinking you're all private in your room. Nothing but a handheld device. That has cameras, you know. Microphones. Other arrays of devices which lets people you can't see peep into your life. Of course, I'm all joking. Don't be paranoid. Mm-hmm. Now, where were we? Ugh, itchy. I could afford tracking if I wasn't forced to spend so much on fancy trips specifically to make Gebus jealous. I can't wait for you to get full body tracking. Alright, and yes, to be continued when it actually happens. Oh, it's not you, Vesper. Don't worry. I have heard that some have replaced the fireworks with a light show that looks like fireworks. Yeah, and then there's the whole drone swarm doing funny pictures in the sky. Where do you recommend I buy full body suit and eye tracking? The internet, which is where I sourced all of mine. I feel like I'm in a movie. A movie. Vesper goes. Obligatory eyeglass push. Full body is fun. I can move more than I would be able to without them. Like kicking a certain lizard playfully and messing around with the slime bed assets. Yes. Mobility translated digitally for your own and mostly your friend's pleasure. See you around, hero. Drone shows at least seem cooler than light shows, right? And then some person with a jammer comes by and does the funny and everything starts to fall down. So sad. Gosh. The autism just kicks in when the slime bed Gibbs knows himself. Lucky Matthew isn't there, because when me and Matthew go in the same room, the jokes they turn absolutely hilarious. It's axolotl tier. Why, thank you, Danny. Yeah, even Fluffy. Fluffy too is infected. You see, every day, Fluffy DMs me. Also, R, thank you so much. I see what you're doing. Fluffy here, every day without fail, sends me something new. And it goes deeper and deeper into a very German aesthetic, German tone sort of stuff. Absolutely funny. I remember sending him something wholesome though. It was a video of a clothing line in a clothing store. A bit of a nostalgic feel to it. Right? Lots of memories with those stripes. If it isn't the blue Persian cat mixed with a German shepherd and a bit of narwhal, you know your species, don't you, Irons? Welcome back to stream. Finally, somebody who watches my videos. VRChat asset replying to Nord about the slime beds. That resembles a bubble of jello and it conforms moves with your Avi. The mesh deforms in such a spectacularly accurate way. Very nostalgic. Super nostalgic. You're Filipino, right? Magandang umaga. What do you expect? What studio are you using? I'm not in a studio. I'm in my own apartment. Was it customer made? You mean custom made? I simply edited the base. I kit bashed. Oh my goodness. That reminded me that we watched one of the drones fall out of the sky during the holiday drone thing I posted photos of, says Ard. Unfortunate for the piece of hardware. Are you wearing a mocap suit? This is called full body tracking. I don't know if it's gonna translate well, but yeah. There we go. Ta-da. Hello. Better. It's a bunch of trackers you wear on your body. Customer made. In my defense, engine is my... You know what? Same here. Engine 2 is my third language. I sometimes converse with my motorcycle, in memory. Fluffy. My goodness, really? Thank you so much. Fluffy's doing the trickle charge, the top off support. Thank you. Let me tell you, buddy, it really gets the stream going, promise. So thanks. Both. Quarter Italian. Both. Quick boost. Thanks. As I've said, it really keeps the streams afloat. I feel super sad when nothing flows. I mean, it's absolutely okay with me, even if no support, arrives, and it's understandable. My third language is Botanical Latin. This is some form of Latin in which you speak to plants. Where's the fire? In my heart, the burning flame of passion. Favorite color? black, gold, and touches of electric blue. Can you fight? Oh, absolutely. Except I use my tongue. Well, stop. Let me roll back before you say anything. I use my speech instead. What's this? Philodendron melanochrysum. It's botanical. It means philodendron black gold. Oh. What? It's true. I use my tongue, right? Right. Use one's tongue to give them the savory pleasure that they can't fight you anymore. The pleasure of flattery, persuasion, and if need be, diplomacy. Can you fold your ears? I mean, like, physically fold them down? Like, so, yeah. Vesper, calling moderator for aisle 1, please. A weird kind of French, you see. Gab, how are you doing? I'm doing great. Thank you. A new poll. Is Geb a dragon or a lizard? Let's show the results. Of course, everybody votes lizard. Okay, alright. I see. I thought it was a movie for a second. I'm doing good, actually. Gab is our friend. That's what he is. Finar knows his words well. So, where were we? Right. You know, today, I feel like time flows slower than usual. It's only been 1 hour and 37. I honestly thought that I would be saying, oh, look at the time, I have 15 minutes remaining and I gotta skedaddly do. Finar shares that they are 45. I'd hope to have a few good ones by now. Surely you have 1 or 2. No, I do not have Oreos. I'm doing good, R. Just another Friday for me. Well, it's Thursday probably if you're in the States. Basically just trying to mod between putting the Christmas decorations away. Sad that I'm away, it's okay, Bess. You can always catch up during the next stream. I have one last cookie that I'm trying to reach, and I shall be eating it midstream. Don't worry. Did I do anything for New Year's? I ate a lot of sashimi. And that's it. There we go. Jeff Bezos. I thought you were Beth for a moment. Happy New Year. Delicious. Geb mukbang. Geb will eat spicy noodles on stream for X amount of dollars, yes. Well, advance happy birthday. If it is your birthday tomorrow. Of course, after eating something so dry and crumbly, one must hydrate. Presenting my invisible drinking container. 2x spice? No. I'm gonna suffer on stream and a couple of hours later in the toilet. Oh my god, my tongue. Sorry. Why? Why when I take sip from the straw? Anyway. Sorry about that. Eating face. Thank you, Jane. I remember the last time I ate on stream. I had some. What was it? It was called Nova. It's country cheddar flavor. Bunch of corn chips. A big fan of corn chips. Potato, not so much. More often than not, the potato crisps that I have are from Lay's, Frito-Lay's, right? And we all know how oily that darn thing is. Not a big fan of having a film of oil on one's lips. Mwah. So, reflexively, if you have oily lips from the chips, right? You're gonna wipe it with the back of your hand, and then where is it gonna go? It's gonna go here, like. That's a terrible habit, chat. Don't do that. I do anything on stream, says Tianman. As long as it's within Twitch guidelines and I get paid enough. I don't know, that sounds like being a sellout to me, says the guy who's really skirting his line of morals just to get $1 or two. No, I'm just joking, chat. You know me. How old are you? Is that okay to ask? Yes. Let's go. Even the carbonara version that is supposedly less spicy didn't even taste good. You look, listen, there's an art to preparing spicy buldak. Buldak is the Korean noodles. You know, it's a chicken with with flames coming out of their mouth. You just need raw egg, right? Some Japanese mayonnaise. You need some chives, or I had to forget what you call it, the small ones, and then some sausage or spam, and then some cheese, and then you just mix it together. Best thing ever. What's this? I think I always thought no one had to pour the entire bag of buldak in the noodles. Imagine to my surprise to learn that one can actually choose how much to put. It is sacrilege not to pour the entire thing. Remember, engineers designed that. Those things are perfectly measured. Have you ever eaten pasta carbonara? One of my favorites, especially if there's little chunks of ham or bacon and mushroom in it. Of course, Stratsky shows up. Hi there. Welcome back. Morning, Gab. You have a good New Year's? Spectacularly uneventful. See you, Tianman. The spicy chicken buldak is the best in my opinion, says Arn. Add some stuff for pizzas. Add some stuff for pizzas. That's all you need to do. Except the tomato sauce. It's perfectly measured. Made by the Buldak engineers. You see, If you don't pour the entire packet of goodness of liquid fire on top of your pasta as intended, it's similar to owning a motorcycle and you cutting the exhaust short. You don't desecrate the design. How much time did you spend editing your avatar? Wow. A lot. Definitely a lot. Spread out through weeks. Do you love engineers? That's a bit of a broad question. But if one has the smarts, what is the proper term? Sapiosexual. There you go. I lean hard on that. If you are a 10 out of 10 physically but a dumb broad inside, no thank you, hot 56k modem lady. Are you sponsored or something? Yeah, I wish. I have yet to get a single sponsorship. That's proper. Can I get a list to do this? Wow, okay, spoon feeding. Let me give you the general idea. A VR headset, a computer good enough to run it, and stable enough internet, so it's a consistent experience. Maybe I'm not Asian enough for Bulldog. That's why you gotta hang around with me more. Let's go increase the ratio of rice you have. I'll see you around, hello. Exactly. Who are we to question the Bulldog scientists, right? You're making me hungry, says Zoxy. I was happily lurking in food. Imagine cheesy Bulldog, right? You just put your fork, twist the pasta, and the strings of cheese and the goodness. Oh, and that umami from that mayonnaise, hard to beat, complemented by the egg. Teach them the ways for spicy Jofran. You know Jofran sauce. Props to you, Finmar. Also, R, see you around. Thank you so much for the little gifties. Nord says there's no such thing as 10 points looker and reliable as a 9600 baud modem gift. I Look, I have my standards, right, Nord? It's gotta be at least a 6 or at the bare minimum a 6 that's willing to go to the gym to make it an 8 or 9. But this is so important to me. I remember there being this super hot model, right? I was invited to dinner. It was my mom tried to set us up, and then, oh, here's some money, treat the lady and whatnot. She was super hot. She was not Asian. Gosh, the body was, ooh. I did not feel an ounce of attraction despite her fitting my category physically. Why? Because she was empty up here. Aren't you the tail song guy? That's not me. I think you're talking about OK Donuts, the snake. Gab does not take raunchy sponsors. Glad I inherited spice tolerance. Good on you. I have heard of certain people that cannot tolerate even just having black pepper, ground black pepper on their meals. Unimaginable. Downside was the eyesight and heart health. Oh dear, I'm built just like a true scientist. I love the Nova Beast avatar you had on that vid. Which video in particular? An Asian parent not liking spicy things. Goodness gracious. Agreed, Vesper. 10 and out of 10. But the mentality is like, oh my god, that's like so weird. You're gonna pay for my order, right? That's so sweet of you. Dump them on the spot, chat. Mm-mm. Is this legit? As legit can be. Shupimon. Are you some sort of Pokemon? Not today. A shiny Rayquaza. Really? Not even a shiny Umbreon or Charizard? Charizard's like black and blue, right? Nova goes, long time no see, handsome. Hope your new year's awesome. I can just imagine the balmy voice. Thanks. New Year's doing great. Geb equals Snorlax. That is partially accurate. Because I absolutely love taking my 5-minute naps. Five-minute naps. What F1? Can I be a dragon too like you? If you put your heart into it, you can be anything that you want. Is the number one delusion told to kids nowadays. And then play the flute to wake you up. Yep, I'm just gonna hear ka-ching. That's how you wake me up. I think more of a Garchomp and a shiny Umbreon makes that. The Garchomp has a huge mouth though, like. You need to have a dragon's heart for that. It just gave me a confidence boost I didn't know I needed. Thanks, Of course, it's all about speaking and presentation. It's first impressions to be made to another person. It's part of my avatar. Where are you from? Nowadays, you can find me somewhere over at the South Antarctic Research Station. 7 miles off from the landing station, yes. I'm from the Philippines there. Vesper says, and then those kids burn out because the support for that anything you want to be when you're older you can achieve isn't achievable to them. So you change directives. Yes. So you're an ice dragon. No, I am not a frost dragon. I lack the silveriness of it. I harness, not flame, not acid. Not ice. I harness. Something quite shocking. Something really grounded. Quite electric, if I may say. Really helps when the power goes out. Actually, I use it to save up on bills on the apartment. I don't pay for a little Blue Arrow Foundation office, right? No electric bills. Electrons. Zapping. For a second, I imagine an Arctic scientist with a VR set eye fishing. That's probably gonna be Ard, not me. Ard, listen. We 100% have to get you the white lab coat outfit, and you gotta have the obligatory pens on the front pocket of different colors and excuse me, and design. Whoa. Makes me wonder. I have my collar down. I'll see if I can find an old photo of me in grad school wearing a lab coat. 100%. Obligatory, gotta have the eye protective gear. Purple pants. What purple pants, Anubis? Thank you for the wonderful time. See you around. Regarding Antarctica, a friend of mine works at an experiment at the South Pole Station. I keep thinking about applying for an overwinter job with him. Says Ard. That sounds awesome. Please notice me. Ayan. Pinansin na kita. Masaya ka na. If your avatar was a real species, where do you think your natural habitat would be besides the bed? Damn, why did you have to mention the bed? Natural habitat, huh? Assuming I am uncivilized, right? Uneducated, I am but a savage, a primeval animal. You would sooner find me in subterranean habitats, most definitely. Probably damp, with a lot of bioluminescent life forms around, probably crystals. A cave so far deep down that its resources has been untouched by the more civilized species above. That's where you'd find a wild camp. Happy? You have a suave personality. I would have guessed super spy, but I could see you as a scientist. I love science, and I am rather nosy when it comes to things, but I am neither of the two. I investigate things instead. What's this? 14-degree. Ooh, hello. 14 Celsius outside my front door is enough for me. South Pole Simulator, Mr. Trues. Ard goes, it does, but I would be away from my partner, dog, and family for half a year. So when push comes to shove, I'm torn. So it's more about pursuing your passions over the comforts of, well, home. I seem to be drifting a lot. What is this? My ears. What about my ears? Hello. Yes, I have like a lot of extras. Shh. Happy. The way you speak makes me want to serve tea like a butler. Here's your tea, sir. They have a particular way of speaking that's way more refined. Hello, Howler. Peaceful sunny plains, huh? Don't tell me you're a low-level mob. Where were we? Right. With the noir background, I'm guessing you also enjoy practical effects in older movies. Precisely. I just like jazz, that's all. Life nowadays is so overly complicated. It's better when things were simplified. Like back then. Hello, Wacky. Vesper says, me, outer space. Been around for rough rambles about the lore to my persona. So you are a hot alien babe. Fantastic. Bucket list. I knew it all along. Damn. So, simplification of Vesper's lore. Hot alien babe. Hot because star matter. Alien because extraterrestrial. Gabus, come on, let's create our luck together. No, thank you. The meshing of luck is a very, very messy thing. Two beautiful eyes. You could just stare at those eyes all day. You, lizard, Happy New Year. You speak like a kobold, Jasper Fox, but thank you. I hope you have a good New Year too. Very hypnotizing. Like Ghostbusters used to say, says Finar, don't cross the streams. I tried to be as lizard as possible. So are you saying we're all simpletons? Yes, shiny. No, not all of us have kobold brains. There's perfectly average individuals just like me. I'm not a majestic dragon. I'm not a dimwit kobold. I don't know. Maybe. Juhan Nilea. I wonder if I'm pronouncing that right. Juhan Nilea. Finar goes, I may have a kobold brain. I pick up shiny things. It's the compulsion towards certain characteristics of objects, isn't it? Mine's the spherical, squishy, twisty, right? Like steamed pork buns. There you go. Or leggies. I absolutely love nice, tender, juicy, meaty leggies. Slender too, right? Have you seen how they cook chicken in certain restaurants? All the meat is just there and it's very generous. No weird dry spots. Hello, Cam. I love shiny things, assure you. You know, not every shiny thing out there is a good thing, though. Gotta be careful about what you pick up. Most especially something you store in your pocket. But general consensus is if it's a circle and it's shiny with a funny face and numbers on each side, or at least one of them, it's something to keep. Probably a coin. As long as it's money there, simplified. No roundabout explanation. What is with all your demands, Ames? Here, you want a side look? Pa, happy. Popping my snoot in to wish you a happy new year, and you, before you escape, you too must have a absolutely abundant and fortunate new year. I wish you nothing but the best, Kuda. And thank you for the greeting. I hope you're doing well. Yes, that's just me like grabbing Kudalin, right? Unfortunately, I think Kudalin's the type, even if you're grabbing it, like, you get the whole Bart Simpson stranglehold. She would just like slink and slither out, given the anatomy. Hello, Donuts. Somebody in chat was asking me, aren't you that guy who did the tail song? I said, no, it's the snake person, not me. Boss being a charm. Why, if it isn't Mr. Sunbreaker? Do you have work? I'm thinking if I should pursue some science later, if you're up for it. I'm so sorry. I don't... Okay. For once, I don't know what the tail song is in its entirety, its depth. All I know is, I think I saw it in your Twitter. It's something about you. So I kind of shoved the topic there. Like shaking a noodle, exactly. You know how slippery wet noodles are when you do that? They just kind of just... Yes. Kev, do you have lore? Does not every individual walking this planet have a story to tell? Draung has spoken. Shinies aren't compulsion, it's a life choice. You see, sometimes I am graced by Draung's generosity, so he tosses me a gold. No, he tosses me a copper coin, maybe silver when he's feeling generous, every now and then. Makes me absolutely happy when he does. Such a swell guy. Work tomorrow, but it's Friday, so I'll be up late tomorrow night. Then we shall do science tomorrow instead. Hello, Ilishka. So, you know some knowledge on other streamers and creators. Can I ask you about someone? Ironically, I don't. I am probably the least well connected. I don't have any other streamer friend. Maybe Kudalin's the closest one, but I barely visit. Kudalin's such a awesome person though. Don't get me wrong. It's just my absence in other content creators' channels is what I'm pertaining to. And that too, time zone issues. I'm not part of any content creator groups or cliques, circles, and whatnot. I kind of want to do away with that because end of the day, it's just networking and using each other to grow and whatnot. I want my growth to be as organic despite moving at a glacial pace. Having friends is awesome though. Genuine friends. Not, oh, hi, nice to meet you. I love what you do. Yeah, think we can work together? Yeah, oh, you're such an amazing individual. Right? It's so bad. It's so synthetic. It's just PR business. Hello, Moonlight. Would you get the fursuit if you could? I'm good. Huda says, yeah, but sometimes you gotta start with that to get deeper connections. I know. I suppose I'm not into aggressive networking, unlike other people. I'm more of if it happens, it happens. Like you and me. Look, we had that nice chat over a campfire last time. Gleaned a lot of information. Brought a newbie to VR chat like myself. up to speed about lore and about our popularity and whatnot. And I appreciate you so much for that. Genuinely. Yeah, sometimes I'm tempted to go knock on your instance. Like, I want to visit Kudalin. She's so cool. But probably busy with a lot of people or doing some funny dance which showcases. Goodness. Music huggers. Oh, she just passed by or decide lurking. I don't even lurk. The channel I lurk the most probably is this channel on Twitch, which is about cherry shrimp. Right? It's shrimps. It's a 24-hour stream. Good morning. What's this? You're welcome to request to hang out with me at any time. I'll respond back if it's an instant. I am completely okay with somebody saying no and I won't hold it against them. Why? Because there's the whole reason VR chat implemented that feature where you can turn down somebody by giving them a reason or not. Kamusta New Year? Okay lang. Masarap yung pagkain. The streamer I watch, well, I watch his VODs and his clips the most, then I really love, is Queso. None other. I love the guy. He's so funny. He's funny without being ridiculous, which is what makes it even funnier. He's not even trying. But other VR chats, I don't really do it because yeah. I'd rather do other things. What's this? I'll have you in the BG while doing some stuff, okay? Oh yeah, of course, Alicia, no problem. Bad life advice. Noodles for dinner for a week and give Geb subs. Or have good groceries not being able to... Bad life advice is to spend all your money and forget about yourself. But please don't. Oh my, not a good opening line. Sonar. We have a Vesper lurking and she's a very ruthless, unforgiving mod. Hello, Deadpool. Super Candy. You look even better. Welcome to Widescreen Land. Vesper is doing Christmas decor. No, undecorating. Just to take them down. I still remember you being young, Geb. My Nova Beast. I know. Looks rather youthful. Happy New Year, Apple. Hello, hello. I'm still listening in. Hello, Vesper. How's your undecorating going? Ooh. Don't say I didn't warn ya, buddy. Do you have kimchi? I wish I had. I'm a big fan of it. Sometimes when I'm craving, I'm hungry, I will just open my jar of kimchi. Have some a black vinegar. Black vinegar is fantastic because it's thick and it's really strong. And I dip it. Happy New Year. Hope you finish that apartment. Anubis, the apartment's already done. It was accomplished last August. Right now, I'm pinning all my hopes that we get enough money. One, just to survive the month. And two, if any extra arrives, that goes into my motorcycle funding. Nakakaantok ba? Matulog ka na. Baka puyat ka. Happy New Year, cake! Kimchi ramen is great. It's fantastic. Get your little tofu, right? And then the veggies. Maybe some enoki mushroom on the side. Why, thank you, Alishka. You know you need not flatter me. It's your fault for being so handsome. Stop. How's the motorcycle funding coming along? Including the savings from when I sold my bike, I would say we are 80% there. I tried pushing for the last segment on December. I had the ridiculous funding, right? That's why I could buy accessories too. But I kind of got embarrassed about it, so I took down the fundraiser midway and just replaced it with something smaller, like the Merry Christmas thing and then the Happy New Year, which all just lasted one stream or two, I think. I don't. Besides, I figured people during the holidays, my viewers, most of you will have already be strained financially because you're buying gifts for yourself, for your loved ones, accommodating dinner or lunch with a lot of people you're reconnecting with. So maybe raising money during December isn't the wisest of things. So that's why I took it down. Me surviving, me getting the monthly funding completed is honestly more than enough at this point. I don't want to be greedy, chat. I make a joke about money all the time because it's for comedic effect. So yeah. Right, we can usually skip December trying to save money. 100%. Christmas tree is down, says Vesper. Organizing decorations to put them away without risk of broken items. I love the holidays, I hate the cleanup. Agree. 100% agreed. Excuse me. I know, Geb, but everyone deserves a compliment, says Ilishka. Compliment accepted. What's this? I have one of those trees with fake frost on it, says Mitzi. Hello, Mitzi. It's a chore to put it away every time because it makes a huge mess afterwards. Right? It's so good for a while, but when it makes a huge mess afterwards, the cleanup is such a chore. Why do streamers say chat at the end of the sentence? Because addressing you with individual names is too lengthy. And who is the streamer interacting with? Their chat. Hence, chat. It's a singular word. I mean, how do you say that? Single syllable word. Chat. Instead of saying everyone. Everybody. 3 syllables. 4. It's lengthy. Chat is just condensed. Efficient. Geb, did you join in with the furry hideout New Year party? I sadly did not. For what it's worth, says Art, I don't think it's... How do you pronounce that? Gouache. Gosh. Please help me pronounce. I've rarely encountered that word. Or greedy to have a stretch goal, so long as you're not pushing it on folks. The extra bar is pretty unobtrusive and it just leaves it to the viewers. But I don't know, man. I don't want to come across as super greedy. Goosh. Goosh. There we go. Gosh. 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 There we go. Gosh. Yeah, it's pretty gosh. So yeah. Look. I was super happy when you and Beth and Fluffy at that one time were like giving so much. I was like, oh my goodness, Christmas is actually happening. I'm gonna get that bike. And then it tapered off, but it's completely okay. And I feel bad. Like, I just feel bad having that extra part. If there's extra, there's extra. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Good morning. Zyron Gamboa. Gamboa, huh? I have a friend whose surname is a Gamboa. Is somewhere in Batangas. Hello, Golden. Careful, Gib. About what? And here we are, 9 minutes until I gotta skedaddly do. We actually reached that point. Gosh? Really? I have to look into it then, Nord. But you're 80% way to the dream. Yes. And it makes me absolutely thrilled. We're almost there. Stone. No, I don't. I do not have an AD account. I don't have After Dark stuff, alright? Look, there may be innuendos and passing jokes that are clearly adult oriented, but I am not that sort of content creator, just being clear. I can appreciate a good body, right? But it doesn't mean I'm going to be doing the same. Of course, the clock up looking for you 8. Not even there. Yeah, I'm getting some really interesting comments there, Axel. I don't think I should read them out aloud, though. Are you going to get something to eat after stream? Yes, it should take me no longer than 10 to 15 minutes. It also gives me a chance to charge my tracker so I can stay in VR chat longer. For usually when I hang out after my lives, I am left with but 3 hours of battery. Oh yeah. Speaking of After Dark, I mentioned this on stream before. Somebody invited me to do voice acting and it was about hypnosis and domination something. I just glossed over it, but I had to politely decline them. I said, my apologies. I may be able to execute that if that was within my preferences of content, but I don't to really do that, and I may not do as good as expected. That's a good length of time on a charge. Yeah, I usually get 6 hours, Finar. Yeah, but yeah, I turned it down. It was a big channel too, but bigger than mine. On YouTube, at least. I don't know, chat. When it comes to me and trying to charm someone, I would very much do it the classic way, right? Sprinkle of compliments here, a bit of playfulness with the words and the body language there, but I'm not really much into the whole. I don't even know what to call it. Those big bad boy alpha, submit to me sort of thing. That's not me. I'd rather have you as my pal, my friend. I need to see if you can keep up. If you're witty enough. The E-boys, oh god. I'm not a big fan of that. Right? Who's a good puppy? That's right. Respect only your master, alright? Or else. Blah. Bleh. But I'm good. I am not a dominator. Absolutely not. eBay. eBay. I know, it's supposed to be e-boy. Keeping it classy, 100%. Geb is such a Sigma male. Yes. Not an alpha, not a beta. Yeah. Can you imagine me saying, "Nah, you're a good girl. You've been a good boy, right?" It doesn't fit my character, does it? Okay, maybe the girl part, but the boy part. Oh yeah. A lot of guys I see who has a inkling of a deep voice really try their hardest to be the big alpha male in any given situation. It makes them look funny instead. They're trying so hard to puff their chest out. The more you puff your chest out and try hard, and it's visible, the more your insecurity is magnified, which does the complete opposite effect, aside from the idiots that are probably falling prey to you. Design? I had a hand in it, yes. They aren't hiding anything doing that. I don't know. For me, I find it more annoying than anything. It's sort of like guys on a motorcycle and then they rev it all the damn time on stoplights. Vroom, vroom, right? For what? To show off? To think that you're cool? No, you are nothing but a nuisance. I mean, yeah, it's a bit cool, but you're still a nuisance. Look, when I was an early rider, my younger period on a motorcycle, yes, that's probably my first year, because it was my first time owning a bike, and then I quickly learned how much of an annoyance I was. Like, oh my goodness, that was the impression I was giving. I have 8 mochi. 2 of them are hidden. I'm so stuck on the fact that Geb said that. Said what? To burn gas at 2 a.m. and keep everyone awake. Right? Increase the local carbon monoxide content in the neighborhood. excuse me, the fact that people have to break down the terms of what a man is or isn't by their demeanor is dumb, because everyone's version of what a real man is just dumb. True. I'm more of a. I lean on chivalry heavily, and respect begets respect, right? Um, I guess I've just been born with and raised with common sense. You see a lady, who's not vocal about it, clearly struggling, trying to stand on the train. She's tired. Then, if you are have a, you can just stand up. You offer the seat, right? Yeah, no fuss about it. But if you see the lady making the same fuss, giving you a stare down, like, oh my God, you're a man, right? You should give that seat to me because I'm a lady. It achieves the complete opposite effect. I tell them to screw off. Humility. Gosh, humility is such an important aspect. If you gloat about anything and did not ask about it, expect our tier of friendship to go down a notch. Nothing irritates me more than somebody gloating or talking about crap that they have or they did and nobody ever asked about it. People that won't shut the heck up when unprompted. Self-awareness and courtesy goes a long way. Precisely. Nailed it. You know what I mean? Like, bro, you don't need to impress me about anything. But alas, as much as I wish to continue our rather fruitful discussion, I gotta skedaddly do. I gotta go eat. The cookies I ingested earlier, it's not gonna last long. Yeah, that one, Iron Wolf. I don't remember asking. Precisely, I respond to that. Whenever I have somebody in chat say this and that about them, I said, oh yeah, good to hear, but I don't remember asking. Sometimes you gotta be frank and forward about this. Good to be here. Thanks, Yabakatsu again. Of course, Pinar. Yes, absolutely lovely to have you here. And everybody else. Now, let me go browse through the VR chat real quick. See who's streaming. I am curious. New VR chat. This is Cinder. Why do I have Cinder's picture open? He is wearing a Chicago baseball. Is this baseball? Yeah, it's baseball. Hmm. But yeah, hold on. First of all, see you again, chat. See you till the next live. What? What? Now, that being closed, close that, close that. Finally, widescreen land. I'm getting my day started. Time for a bagel. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night. I will catch you next time. Yeah, just my hip tracker's acting super funny. Thank you for sticking around during this New Year's stream of mine. Or we get a raid, and then I have to say hello to Boss Cat. Hi there. Thank you. Hello, chat. Unfortunately, you caught me right as I was about to end. I gotta go eat. Hope you had a good stream, though. So yeah, Elishka, RGB, Nord, Fluffy, Music Hog, Axel Wide Open, Ard, the Glad Scientist, Axiom, I already said Axiom, Mr. Truce, Vesper, and Waffle Carp, and everybody else. I will see you next time, right? Also, Howler. Woo! Like the sunflowers in bloom this summer. I'll see you around, guys. Bye bye.